My name is Gideon Adeluayemi Kodembu. Here's my presentation of business analytics on bank solvency in the UK. Here is a table of content that I'll be explaining as I progress on the presentation. I have a list of two figures and three tables. As a cornerstone to financial stability and economic growth, it is important to examine the solvency of the banking industry in the UK and determine how well it can continue to play its role. This study was conducted in the context of business analytics by collecting data and analyzing them from frame and Statista, and to identify the historical trends and also make recommendations that will strengthen the solvency in the industry and meet the minimum requirements for smooth operations. Also, results as shown over the years, the solvency ratio in the industry that it is below the recommendation level and highlighted the need to strengthen bank regulation and ensuring compliance as well. Also, from evidence, the analysis shows that the profit margin has significant and positive impact on the solvency ratio in the bank. The bank plays a crucial role in maintaining financial stability and growth in any modern day economy. It acts as a financial intermediary, monetary policy implementation, wealth management, um, financial advisory, among other functions, which fosters the growth and development by providing enabling investment for individuals and businesses. The study focuses on the solvency of banking industry in the UK and its ability to ensure financial stability in the country. The stability of financial institution cannot be overemphasized due to its essential role in the economy. The stability can be accessed through solvency, that is, how well a bank can absorb negative shock. In an attempt to regulate the banking industry and ensure stability, government has to come up with various requirements which firm needs to apply or comply with. One of the requirements is the Basel III international framework, which recommends the minimum equity requirements for firms in the banking industry. Also, the committee stated that the bank should maintain a minimum of 8% solvency ratio to cater for financial crisis in large extent. Business analytics is broad and applicable in every sector or industry. The analytics has to do with the application of analytic concepts to business, which helps management to make better and more informed decisions. And it also gives them a competitive advantage over others. This graph shows the average solvency ratio of the bank in the UK during the years of 2014 to the year 2023. It shows the solvency ratio uh, of the industry when it was at its lowest point in the year 2020 and at the time when it got to its peak in the year 2023 as well. This is a solvency ratio by banks. This chart shows that all banks except the Morgan Stanley failed to meet the 8% requirement according to the Basel III. This means that the government needs to strengthen their rules and regulations and enforce compliance so that there can be financial stability. This means that amongst all the banks listed, only the Morgan Stanley was able to meet the 8% minimum requirement. Other banks failed to meet those requirements as well. Now I'm talking about the variables that were considered. We have the solvency ratio, the profit margin, the access structure, the liquidity ratio, and the ROE, which is the return on equity. Now, what is solvency ratio? Solvency ratio has to do with the ability of a firm to meet a long-term financial obligation. Profit margin has to do with the efficiency of a firm in its operation. Asset structure has to do with how assets are being allocated among different asset categories. The liquidity ratio has to do with the ability of a firm to meet a short-term financial obligation. The return on equity helps to determine how the management can maximize the shareholders' wealth. Furthermore, we used a descriptive analysis, and here is a table that shows the descriptive statistics of the variables that are considered in this analysis. This helps to determine the characteristics of the data, which can be made, which can be mode of choice of model for this analysis. It shows a mean of 6.7 for the solvency ratio with a minimum and maximum value of 3.4 and 15.9 respectively. Profit margin has a mean of 22.7 with a minimum and maximum of minus 26.2 and 79.4 respectively. For asset structure, the mean is 0.812 with a minimum of 0.227 and a maximum of 0.924, while liquidity has a mean of 1.016 and the average return on equity is 9.256. We've been able to use the descriptive statistics to calculate the mean, median, standard deviation, and so many others for the variables we're trying to analyze. This table shows the correlation between variables, which helps to understand the relationship amongst them. It tells us the degree of their relationship, whether two variables have a positive or a negative impact. The result we have shows that the solvency has a positive correlation with profit margin, asset structure, and the liquidity ratio, while the correlation with return on equity is negative. Positive margin has a profit margin rather has a positive correlation with return on equity, but its correlation with asset structure and liquidity ratio, as you can see, is negative. You can also see the asset structure has positive and negative correlation with liquidity ratio and return on equity, respectively, while the correlation between liquidity and return on equity is negative as well. Now that we've used the correlation matrix to know the relationship between the variables, whether they have positive or negative impact. Now, using the regression analysis, from the table you can see the result you have from the regression analysis shows a coefficient of 0.019 for the profit margin with a p-value of 0.006, which indicates that profit margin has significant positive effect on the solvency ratio. Also, all other variables have their positive coefficients, but with a p-value greater than 0.05, which indicates that their individual impact is only positive, but not significant. The R square of the model is 0.86, which indicates that the model can explain about 86% of the variance in the dependent variable. It has a F statistics of 40.52 with a p-value of 0.00, which shows that the combined impact of the independent variable on the dependent variable is significant as well. Now that we know their relationship, we can conclude that the solvency ratio in the UK banking industry is less than the minimum requirements as specified by Basel III. The government needs to take proactive measure to enforce the minimum requirement and to ensure smooth operation of the banking industry. One major factor for one of the major factors that contributes significantly to bank solvency is the profit margin. The bank needs to ensure optimal operation by increasing income and reducing costs to strengthen their financial capacity. Thank you very much.